revenge. Oh! I'm a savage. Whatever I want, I'm going to get. Whatever I want, I have to get.
Yeah, but so there's still, I mean, it's crazy too because there's still more happening in court. Like, I mean, everything is still active even though we're not hearing about it as much anymore. And the people may be fatigued like we talked about prior to.
What if one of the biggest names in entertainment wasn't just a music mogul, but also orchestrated something far more sinister behind the scenes? The whispers about Sean Diddy Combs have grown louder, and the allegations now suggest he's been pulling strings even from behind bars. But could Diddy, a man who built his empire on charm, connections, and power, really be using those same tools to eliminate key witnesses who could destroy everything he's created? Let's dive into the tangled web of rumors, accusations, and shocking claims that paint a very different picture of the artist once celebrated as a cultural icon.
It's just incredible. And, it brings into context our whole system of innocent until proven guilty. Why is he not being given bond? And, we can debate that all day long. Of all people that's unlikely to flee or get away, well, he's got the resources to flee, but he's so recognizable. And isn't he innocent until proven guilty? Well, yeah, but, we have to recognize there are degrees of innocent until proven guilty. When you have this much...
The first whispers began after Diddy was denied bail for the third time in late 2024. The judge's reasoning, a serious risk of witness tampering. But the details behind that decision are where things get truly jaw-dropping. Prosecutors allege that Diddy, while sitting in a Brooklyn detention center, has been making relentless efforts to manipulate the outcome of his trial. According to court filings, he has been contacting witnesses using other inmates' phone privileges, orchestrating three-way calls, and even paying people both inside and outside the prison to carry out tasks on his behalf. The accusations suggest a coordinated effort to influence testimony, intimidate witnesses, and, in the most chilling claim, potentially eliminate those who pose a threat to his defense.
I could do anything.
One of the most startling claims comes from a sweep of Diddy's jail cell, where authorities reportedly found handwritten notes detailing plans to dig up dirt on accusers and even referencing payments to individuals who could help silence witnesses. These notes, described in court as evidence of obstruction, have sparked widespread speculation about the lengths Diddy might go to in order to protect himself. Prosecutors argue that these notes, along with his alleged misuse of prison communication systems, reflect a pattern of behavior aimed at controlling the narrative around his case. But how exactly is Diddy managing to operate so effectively from within the confines of a prison cell? According to prosecutors, he's been exploiting loopholes in the prison's phone system. By using accounts belonging to other inmates, Diddy has allegedly been able to bypass restrictions on who he's allowed to contact. In exchange, he's reportedly been paying these inmates through commissary funds or other means, ensuring their cooperation. Authorities claim that these unauthorized calls have been used to relay instructions to his associates on the outside, directing them to gather information, intimidate witnesses, and even coordinate attempts to discredit his accusers.
I mean, it's a legitimate concern. No judge wants to wake up and read the headlines the next day. Oh, they treated this guy special and they gave him bond, and now he's gone and he fled from justice. So that's what's in the back of most judges' minds. On the other hand, we deal with cases where clients have significant funds sometimes. And sometimes where there's money, you can craft a unique solution. Years ago, it was the ankle bracelet and the ankle monitor.
The accusations don't stop there. Prosecutors have also pointed to a suspicious pattern of social media activity linked to Diddy's family and inner circle. For example, around his birthday in November 2024, Diddy's children posted a series of videos celebrating him as a loving father and misunderstood figure. While on the surface, these posts might seem like typical family support, prosecutors argue that they were part of a calculated effort to sway public opinion and, potentially, influence jurors. According to court documents, Diddy monitored the analytics of these posts from prison, allegedly discussing with his family how to maximize their impact and shape the narrative around his case.
It's just interesting to me that with all the money he has and all the resources he has, they couldn't craft some solution that lets him be under some form of house arrest. And again, it sounds like special treatment, but the truth of the matter is, to incarcerate somebody like him is expensive to all of us. We're taxpayers, and he's got to have unique situations. You can't put him in general population where, everyone wants a piece of him and everyone wants to be his friend and everyone.
But the most explosive allegations revolve around claims that Diddy has been using his influence to target key witnesses in his trial. Rumors have circulated that he's been working with outside operatives to locate and intimidate individuals who could testify against him. While there's no direct evidence tying him to physical harm, the whispers about hired hitmen and shadowy threats have only added to the growing cloud of suspicion. For many, the idea of Diddy using his wealth and connections to protect himself by any means necessary isn't just a rumor, it's entirely plausible.
Well, Sierra, anything's possible, right? But now this judge has an even harder time, I think, because the past judge locked him up, didn't let him out, and he's still there available for trial. If the new judge lets him out on bond and something goes wrong, And this isn't the analysis that I'm proud to make, right? We shouldn't be saying, well, judges are worried about their own skin and how they look if something bad happens. And maybe this new judge has a broader view and says, you know what?
One particularly chilling story involves a former associate who claims to have been approached by intermediaries acting on Diddy's behalf. According to this individual, they were offered a significant sum of money to handle a witness expected to testify in the trial. While the associate ultimately refused and went public with their story, the mere suggestion that Diddy could be orchestrating such plans has sent shockwaves through both the legal community and the public. Prosecutors have not confirmed these allegations, but the timing of the claim aligns closely with their repeated warnings about Diddy's capacity to manipulate and obstruct the justice process. Adding to the intrigue is the fact that several witnesses have reportedly withdrawn their cooperation or altered their statements in recent months. While it's impossible to say for certain whether these changes are the result of intimidation, the pattern has raised eyebrows. Defense attorneys argue that these shifts reflect the witnesses' realization that their claims won't hold up in court, but prosecutors insist that fear and coercion are the more likely explanations. One prosecutor described the situation as a textbook example of how power and influence can corrupt the pursuit of justice.
Every jail is bad, and some jails are worse than others. And the problem, again, is if you move him, why is he getting special treatment? And maybe he's earned special treatment. Maybe what he's done, maybe he's given so much back to his fans and to the world and to charity that maybe there's a way that it plays out in the end. But again, to go into court and say this jail is bad, move him to another jail.
The implications of these allegations extend far beyond Diddy himself. If true, they reveal a deeply entrenched network of enablers willing to carry out his orders, no matter how unlawful or unethical. From family members to employees to fellow inmates, the accusations suggest that Diddy has created a web of loyalists dedicated to shielding him from accountability. This level of organization has led some to compare his alleged actions to those of a crime syndicate, with Diddy at the center as the mastermind.
There's no way they can't move him to the general population. And would he be at risk? Sure, he'd be at risk. There's so many people that have nothing to lose, right? They're going to be in jail the rest of their life. They've got nothing to. They want their 15 minutes of fame. They were friends with Diddy, or they hurt Diddy, or they killed Diddy, or they did. I mean, there's so many, people in jail that this would be their moment. You can't put them there. Plus,
prosecutors argue that this network is precisely why Diddy cannot be trusted with bail. In their filings, they've emphasized his uncanny ability to get others to do his bidding, whether through loyalty, intimidation, or financial incentives. They point to his history of alleged witness tampering from the early days of his career to the present as evidence that releasing him would pose an unacceptable risk to the integrity of the trial. For his part, Diddy's legal team has dismissed these claims as baseless, arguing that the prosecution is relying on speculation and circumstantial evidence to justify their case.
Now, to the latest on the arrest of Sean Diddy Combs. This one has so many people talking. The disgraced music mogul facing federal racketeering, conspiracy, and trafficking charges. Both the prosecution and defense teams are set to discuss the next phase of action following the indictment as investigators work to determine potential co-conspirators. But how exactly did we get here?
Diddy's defense attorneys have also pushed back against the portrayal of him as a mastermind pulling strings from behind bars. They argue that the allegations of unauthorized calls and jail cell notes have been exaggerated and taken out of context. According to his lawyers, the notes found in his cell were private reflections and brainstorming related to his defense, not evidence of a coordinated effort to obstruct justice. Similarly, they claim that any misuse of prison communication systems was unintentional and unrelated to the case at hand. Still, the sheer volume of allegations has made it difficult for Diddy to mount a convincing defense in the court of public opinion. As more stories emerge about his alleged attempts to manipulate the legal process, the perception of him as a powerful and untouchable figure has shifted dramatically. For many, the idea of Diddy as a ruthless operator willing to go to any lengths to protect himself feels increasingly plausible. The question now is whether the prosecution's case will be strong enough to prove these allegations in court, or whether Diddy's legal team will succeed in casting doubt on the claims.
The realm, this is very significant, just from who we associate Diddy being and everything we've seen him do over the decades. Like you said, this is quite the downfall to go from, we saw the mansions back in March that were raided by the feds. So to go from living in those mansions to being in a jail cell right now, I think it really underscores the magnitude of what he's facing and the weight of the federal government.
As the trial date approaches, the stakes couldn't be higher. If the accusations of witness tampering and obstruction are proven, they won't just undermine Diddy's defense. They could also result in additional charges and a harsher sentence. For someone who once seemed untouchable, the possibility of spending the rest of his life behind bars is a stark reminder of how quickly power and influence can unravel in the face of mounting allegations.
I think it's to be expected, just the shock of this and the questions about what is ahead of us. I mean, how long is he going to be in custody? Is this an R. Kelly situation? Is he going to not get out for a number of years? Is he going to end up serving a long-term prison sentence from this? Or does he have a chance of beating these charges at a trial that could come, within the next 2 years?
But beyond the legal battles, the rumors and speculation have already taken a toll on Diddy's legacy. The man once celebrated as a trailblazer and mogul now faces a reputation in tatters, with each new allegation painting a darker picture of his actions and character. Whether or not the claims about hitmen and intimidation can be proven, the damage to his public image is undeniable. The question now is not just whether Diddy will beat the charges against him, but whether he'll ever be able to reclaim even a fraction of the respect and admiration he once commanded. And yet, for all the rumors and accusations, one thing remains unclear: how much of this is true, and how much is the result of a media frenzy eager to see a giant fall. Is Diddy truly the mastermind behind a web of criminal activity, or is he being unfairly targeted by those looking to take him down? As the trial looms closer, the answers to these questions will determine not just Diddy's future, but also the legacy he'll leave behind. And the story of Sean Diddy Combs takes a darker turn when we peel back the layers of his past. To many, he was the charismatic figure who revolutionized hip-hop, a man who turned Bad Boy Records into a household name and built an empire that spanned music, fashion, and media. But as the allegations against him mount, a different narrative begins to emerge, a tale of power wielded recklessly, of intimidation, and of an empire built on more than just talent. Could the unraveling of Diddy's present legal troubles be connected to a history of control, manipulation, and a willingness to do whatever it takes to stay at the top? Let's dig deeper into the rise and fall of one of the most polarizing figures in the entertainment industry.
But there's also strategic reasons for the prosecutors to want him to have co-defendants, because right now he hasn't waived his right to a speedy trial, which would force prosecutors to take him to trial pretty quick, which they actually might not be ready to do. But if they supersede him and have co-defendants with him, it makes it a lot easier to pursue a trial continuance without him waiving his speedy trial right.
Long before the lawsuits and federal investigations, Diddy had already earned a reputation for being a man who didn't play by the rules. He grew up in Mount Vernon, a suburb of New York City, where life was anything but easy. His father, Melvin Combs, was connected to the infamous substances trade of the 1970s, working closely with figures like Frank Lucas. When Melvin was fatally shot, Diddy was just a toddler. This loss, combined with the hardships of growing up in a single-parent household, seemed to fuel his drive to succeed. Over the years, he spoke about his determination to escape poverty, famously describing an incident where he woke up with roaches crawling on his face as a child, vowing in that moment to never live that way again.
He was when I was 3 years old. I don't have a lot of memories of my father. They say, you can't miss something you never had. So that's only a little ways right, There's definitely been times as I've gotten older that I've missed my father.
That drive took him to Howard University, where he studied business but left early to pursue a career in the music industry. By the early 1990s, he had landed an internship at Uptown Records, where he quickly made a name for himself as a talent scout with an eye for future stars. But Diddy wasn't content with being someone else's employee. In 1993, he founded Bad Boy Records, and with that, his rise to fame truly began. Bad Boy Records became a cultural phenomenon, thanks largely to Diddy's partnership with the notorious B.I.G., one of hip-hop's most iconic artists. Together, they created a wave of hits that dominated the charts and reshaped the genre. But behind the scenes, the story wasn't all glitz and glamour. Even in those early days, rumors of intimidation and strong-arm tactics began to surface. Industry insiders whispered about how Diddy allegedly used his influence to control artists and suppress competition. Some claim that his success wasn't just built on talent and hard work, but on fear and manipulation.
And so I learned early in life that there was only two ways out of that, dead in jail. And it made me work that even harder. So sometimes you can't just answer why things happen, but
one of the most infamous incidents tied to Diddy's early career was the East Coast-West Coast feud, a rivalry that defined 1990s hip-hop and ultimately led to the untimely losses of both the notorious B.I.G. and Shakur. While Diddy has always denied any involvement in the violence that erupted during this time, his name has been repeatedly linked to the chaos. In 2008, the Los Angeles Times published a controversial article alleging that Diddy and his associates were involved in a 1994 robbery and shooting that targeted Shakur. Although the paper later retracted the story after discovering fabricated evidence, the damage to Diddy's reputation had already been done. For many, the incident reinforced the idea that Diddy's rise to the top was anything but clean.
I think that even if we don't know our parents, we still have their DNA in us. We have their genes, and I have this hustler's mentality, his hustler spirit, his drive, his determination, his swag.
As Bad Boy Records grew, so did Diddy's business ventures. He launched Sean John, a clothing line that quickly became a fashion staple, and entered into a lucrative partnership with a brand of premium booze, among other ventures. By the early 2000s, he was one of the wealthiest figures in entertainment, with a net worth that placed him among the elite. But even as his empire expanded, trouble seemed to follow him. In 2001, he was arrested after a nightclub incident in New York City where shots were fired, leaving 3 people injured. While Diddy was ultimately acquitted of all charges, his then-girlfriend, Jennifer Lopez, ended their relationship shortly after the trial, citing the intense media scrutiny as a factor. The incident marked the beginning of a pattern. Diddy would find himself embroiled in controversy, but he always seemed to come out unscathed.
We are not done. This investigation is ongoing, and I encourage anyone with information about this case to come forward and to do it quickly.
Yet, behind the scenes, cracks were beginning to show. Former employees and collaborators started speaking out about their experiences working with Diddy, painting a picture of a man who ruled his empire with an iron fist. Some described him as a perfectionist who demanded loyalty at all costs, while others accused him of creating a toxic environment where fear and intimidation were the norm. One former associate claimed that Diddy had a my way or the highway mentality, saying if you crossed him, you were done. He didn't just end your relationship, he ended your career. This narrative gained further traction in 2003 when workers at a factory in Honduras that produced Sean John clothing accused the company of violating labor laws. According to reports, employees were forced to work long hours under inhumane conditions, subjected to invasive body searches, and prohibited from forming a union. While Diddy eventually distanced himself from the factory and implemented reforms, the scandal tarnished his image as a businessman. Critics argued that it was yet another example of how he prioritized his own success over the well-being of others. Over the years, more allegations began to surface, suggesting that Diddy's penchant for control extended beyond the boardroom and into his personal relationships. Former romantic partners accused him of being emotionally and physically abusive, with some even claiming that he used his wealth and influence to keep them silent. One of the most shocking allegations came from Kimora Lee Simmons, who, in a resurfaced 2004 interview, claimed that Diddy once threatened her during an argument while she was pregnant. Although Diddy reportedly apologized, the incident added to the growing perception that he was a man who viewed power as a means to dominate those around him. By the 2010s, Diddy's reputation had become increasingly polarizing. While he continued to be celebrated as a cultural icon and business mogul, whispers about his darker side refused to go away. In 2017, his former personal chef, Cindy Rueda, filed a lawsuit accusing him of creating a hostile work environment. The case was settled out of court, but the details, many of which alleged inappropriate behavior, fueled further speculation about Diddy's character. Then came the allegations involving his former partner, Cassie Ventura, which marked a turning point in the public's perception of Diddy. Cassie, who had been in an on-again, off-again relationship with him for over a decade, filed a lawsuit in 2023 accusing him of prolonged abuse. While the case was settled almost immediately, the revelations opened the floodgates for others to come forward with similar stories. Before long, Diddy was facing multiple lawsuits, each detailing a pattern of behavior that painted him as someone who wielded his power to exploit, intimidate, and control.
Mom's gonna always
Whatsoever.
drive their babies.
Yep.
Yeah,
You can get sentenced to 100 years for 27 million people, and they'll be like, but that's my baby, or he's not the person y'all betrayed him to be.
Yeah, she mentioned have his day in court and speak his piece, and you know that you had reported that his attorney said Diddy's going to take the stand. I'm just really trying to figure out what is he going to say? Like, how do you...
These allegations have only intensified in the wake of his arrest and subsequent legal battles. Prosecutors have Diddy as the head of a criminal enterprise, accusing him of using his vast resources to orchestrate elaborate schemes designed to protect himself at any cost. From the alleged use of freak-off parties to coerce individuals, to claims that he manipulated those around him into silence, the image of Diddy as a charming mogul has been replaced with that of a man whose empire was built on a foundation of fear. As the trial of Sean Diddy Combs approaches, the questions surrounding his alleged actions grow more pressing. Could the man who once revolutionized hip-hop truly be orchestrating a sinister web of control and intimidation from behind bars? And if so, how far does his influence really extend? The answers to these questions will not only determine Diddy's future, but also reshape the legacy he leaves behind. What are your thoughts on these shocking allegations? Could Diddy really be capable of such manipulation? Or is he being unfairly targeted? Share your opinions in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more celebrity gossip and updates. Until next time, stay tuned.